Shocking. Absolutely shocking. 30 odd people died yesterday trying to get to our country for a better life. I don't want to see anybody die. Especially...
Alright, so you don't want to see anyone die. This is good news. We agree. We agree, mate. So what that means then, we are going to have to make paths to for refugees to come to this country. We need to make them easier. We need to make them safer. Clearly, if we want to stop this death, we need to allow these avenues, these channels to get into the country a little easier on those people, so they're not risking their lives. Like, okay, I'm glad we agree.
By drowning, which is not a very pleasant way. I couldn't imagine anything worse. However, we cannot keep supporting and affording and putting up 25,000 plus migrants, and it'll probably be nearer 30,000 by the time the year's out. And this is just by dinghies, this is not by...
So, just 25,000, 30,000 is not a lot. And that's the immediate funny thing about this. That's not a lot. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. We've been mourning ever since we were a larger home for refugees and we actually did more good in the world. People have started mourning then. And the problem is, as the immigration problem, not even a problem for me, it's not a problem, but for them, as the immigration problem for them, they've seen it shrink, they still take issue with the numbers we've taken in, even though it's a lot less. And when we're now at 25,000 to 30,000 in a year, which once again is nothing, practically nothing in the grand scheme of things, they still have a problem with it. So at that point, you have to start admitting that your actual issue is taking in any. If we took in one, that would be too many for them, because their actual issue is not, I'm worried about what effect immigration might have on housing or the economy or jobs. Their actual issue is, I don't want you to let any brown people into the country. I don't know why they don't just admit that. Because whenever you bring it up, it's, oh, you're going to call me racist. Well, you literally are not making any point other than just, I don't want brown people in the country. You're just refusing to say that in plain terms. So yeah, until you actually give me something of substance, I'm going to assume you're racist. I think he was about to say something else there as well. Let's keep watching.
Lorries, coaches, or anything else they've sneaked across on. We can't afford it. These are migrants. They're not asylum seekers.
Turning Point UK. This person called Roy Brinkley. Oh, Roy's got Twitter. Can't wait to have a look. Sorry, Roy. You're a fucking moron. Sorry, you just are. We can't afford them. Oh, fuck off, Roy. We absolutely can afford them. We absolutely can afford them. We can afford 10 times as many refugees. We can afford them. We can afford to put them up in homes, because we have enough homes as well, by the way. We can absolutely afford to do that. And more importantly, we can not only afford to do that, but at the same time, we can do it with every veteran as well, because you no doubt want to mention veterans. We can afford to house every homeless person and make sure they get back on their feet. We absolutely have the means to do all this. The reason we're not is because of the people you keep fucking electing, you big gammon cunt. Fucking arsehole. Just put anyone else in charge that isn't a Tory, please. And this, watch how quickly they can sort things like housing crises. Because everything we need to solve it is there. It's not because we don't have the means to do it. It's because we don't have the will to do it. We choose not to.
There's a difference. I was one of the very first veterans that looked after the Vietnamese asylum seekers.
The what now?
Veterans that looked after the Vietnamese asylum seekers.
Oh, sorry, one more time.
Veterans that looked after the Vietnamese.
Vietnamese. We looked after them. I think you wanted to say Vietnamese, but then he also fancied a Viennetta.
asylum seekers, the boat people in Hong Kong. I built the very first camp for them. We used to patrol the beaches all around Hong Kong and the islands, trying to help them. But that's a different story to this one. These are economic migrants. We can't build a small town every year for migrants. We can't even house our homeless veterans.
There it is.
They go to the bottom of the list.
Once again, whose fault's that? They're the bottom of the list because you keep electing the fucking Tories. Stop doing that and maybe something will be done about it. Once again, no one's ever requested we build a new town for refugees. That's fucking stupid, mate. What the fuck are you talking about? We have shit tons of homes empty. They're fucking empty. People could be in them. The reason there are no people in them, the reason we're not housing these homeless veterans is because you keep electing a fucking party that wants a housing scare. You want to elect a party that wants every home to be in the hands, if possible, of private people who own tons or banks that own tons at once so they can extract as much value as they can get from the people who rent them. An empty home that makes them no money is better than that same home occupied but they don't make any money from it, because it still remains something in their portfolio that they can buy, they can sell, they can invest more money in, or they can indeed offer out to rent and then make a shit ton more money on it. As blood-sucking and leech-like landlords are, that's the whole point. Why don't we do something about the hoarding of property, first of all, and the hoarding of wealth, and then maybe we can actually sort the problem of the homeless veterans. But the problem is, someone like Roy, while he does sound like he's crying all the time, he actually doesn't give a fuck about homeless veterans. He doesn't give a shit. He'd rather they just fucking die as well. The only reason he's mentioning them is because as long as that remains a problem that he doesn't want to solve, he can say, well, that should come before the refugee problem. But once again, we can solve both at the same time. We have the means to do it. It's just ignorant cunts like you who don't want to admit that and just keep voting the same people who routinely do fuck all about that problem. Arsehole, man.
Drag every single homeless veteran off the street. Give them 3 meals a day.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's do it.
Find them a house.
Yeah, all right. Do
Give
it.
them a pension if you haven't got one.
Yeah, do it.
You all give it to these migrants.
What does that picture even mean? What the fuck?
Tell you've got to be the soppiest Home Secretary
Soppiest
that this country has ever seen. All these promises.
Oh no, she's the devil woman. Fucking hell. Soppiest. Yeah, alright, mate. He'll call her a communist next.
We'll get the Border Patrol to turn round the boats and send them back. We'll get the Royal National Lifeboat to turn round.
Is he drunk?
I said at the time, I did a video at the time, never going to happen. Never going to happen. Is there anybody for this country going to stop a dinghy halfway across and turn it around and send it back? Because if one person died, that would be shit it in the fan and they would be hell to play.
Hell to play, you say?
If they step foot on our beaches, in our country, feed them, change their clothes, send them back the next day. I don't care what people... I heard somebody on Peston, Amber Rudd last night saying, we can't send them back. Send them back.
That's a good debate, isn't it? We can't send them back. We'll send them back then. We can't send them back. We'll send them back. Hey, no, listen, like we can't actually send them back. Send them back. Just he's doing that thing as well. He's doing this knuckle dragging fucking weirdo with his little fucking fucking beret. Jonas, have you started the cap? No, I need to wear a nice cap or people won't take me seriously. Oh fucking wow.
Oh, put the ramp down. Off you go, guys. You've got 2 minutes to get off. I'm fed up to seeing our country being abused. when our veterans are freezing and dying on the streets. And I tell you what, I was
That's your fault. That's your fault. Anytime anyone who's a Tory voter makes this point about homeless people on the street, veterans not having homes, turn it right back on them. It's your fault. You voted for the party that did that. You keep voting and supporting a party who's continuing to do nothing about it. Because as long as they have homeless veterans, they get to point to homeless veterans as someone who has been abandoned by society, and why we should then make sure other people get abandoned by society. Well, if it's happening to them, it should happen to everyone, would be the message. But no, it's bollocks. Stop buying this propaganda. It doesn't have to happen. We can house all the veterans. As a country, we absolutely can. You are choosing not to because you keep voting for a party that, once again, is choosing not to.
The other night, on Monday, at the Houses of Parliament with the Gurkhas, and I said to my friend Charlie, who was with the Royal Navy vet, would you want to be sleeping out tonight, Charlie? And it wasn't icy out, but he went, bugger that. And I tell you what, it's freezing, yet we've got veterans dying and freezing on the streets, homeless, while we're putting up these economic migrants coming from Syria, Africa, Nigeria, Libya.
Yeah, we get it.
Afghan,
Countries where black people are from.
Iran,
yeah.
all sorts of bloody places.
Yeah, countries where brown people are from, yeah.
Things I watch on YouTube is groups of paedophile hunters. And it's shocking the amount of them that are getting caught after being here 2 or 3 weeks. And they're trying to meet our children. Your children. My children. Our children. They're arranging to meet
your
them.
children, my children, our children, the children, our children, my children, the family's children, the house children. Fucking hell. He's insane. He has absolutely nothing to say. This... When a white supremacist is losing an argument, they'll always go to, but paedophiles, completely forgetting, of course, that the number of white people convicted of paedophilia is the majority by like a huge margin, and even per population, like all white people are convicted of grooming and paedophilia well beyond the percentage of white people in this country. So yeah, it's actually white people who are the nonces. This idea that all these immigrants are also nonces, like, oh, people I watch on YouTube, paedophile hunters, you'll be amazed how many of these immigrants that I bet you the number of those channels that are already white supremacist and are just looking for Muslim or immigrant paedophiles is probably the case. Look at Tommy Robinson's whole thing, or where did he get it from? That when they published that that paper that said about Muslim grooming gangs, that started that whole craze amongst the right wing. And it turned out, for those who actually read it, that the way they got the figures the way they were is by discounting like 80% of the cases they found. And just so happened that all of those 80% were all white cases. That was how they were able to get the number of cases down to just highlight the Muslim ones. It was a complete fabricated study designed to drum up racial hatred based on nothing. Because once again, they only got there by discounting white paedophiles for reasons X, Y, Z that didn't really make any sense.
Right. Children cannot agree to sex under the age of 16. It's rape.
What? Yes, we know.
We're
fucking
getting
hell.
too soft. This whole thing now with these young girls in Hull saying they've been raped by 150 men and the police have kind of washed their hands of it. No.
What's he talking about?
No.
No what?
Let's get the poor girls' cases reinvestigated. Let's get those rapists off the streets and locked up. And if we can deport them...
I agree. Let's
them.
arrest everyone in the fucking England first or whatever it's called.
Now.
Yeah. Fucking hell. Like... Tories will never not like bemuse me for just being constantly head in the sand, no fucking clue how the world works. They've just bought propaganda fully, and they have no intention of doing anything about it. It's just, this is my propaganda. I'm going to live this propaganda now. This is now my personality type. Oh, he's a fucking... Videos like this make me really angry because it was very one note. It was only really one or two arguments he made there, which is, we don't have room or money for them, and that's not true. And we can't do that when we have homeless veterans. Also not true, and we can fix both. Those are very easy things to counter, but the fact that he was getting so irate about both points, he was getting really fucking angry, and he was doing this, and his parents started arguing with him at one point, I think, for what I could hear going on in the background. And he was getting so irate that he just kept repeating himself and making non sequitur after non sequitur. That's very frustrating to actually watch and try and say anything for, because it's very clear to me that this is just a brainwashed person who has nothing of substance to say. He's just angry with what he's been told by his Tory masters to be angry about. And if he just woke the fuck up and realised these are all problems caused by the Conservatives and that he can actually solve them by ensuring that there's not a Conservative government next time, then that's that fixed. The whole scapegoating of immigrants is one of the biggest, most disgusting tricks right-wing politicians have played in this country, where immigration can be seen as nothing but positive, really. When we actually look at the statistics, there's nothing really but positives from varied immigration. Yet, all these people, usually working class people, have been convinced that it's a threat to them. And part of me wants to say that it's probably because these white working class people who vote Tories see themselves as not quite on the bottom society, because there's always going to be immigrants there and always going to be homeless people there, and there's always going to be trans people there, and they're pretty happy with their position because there's people beneath them. And their real reasoning for being against disabled people, immigrants, black people, Indian people, whatever, all these different groups, these different marginalised groups that are beneath them, as long as they remain beneath them, that's fine. That means they're not at the bottom. As soon as those groups start getting a voice and start getting representation and those issues start to be fixed, the white working class people become terrified that that means they're going to be sent to the bottom. So they make it a into working class war, when what they really should be doing is going, hey, you up there, you fucks, let's change things. That's all he needs to do. He needs to actually challenge the people, his fucking Tory masters, and do something about all the problems he has mentioned, rather than scapegoating people who have nothing to do with it.